Hey guys, we are on day 107 in our Bible reading plan today, and we are reading in the book of 1 Samuel. We're reading chapters 25, 26, and 27 today. In 25, we read about David, Nabal, and Abigail, and we read the account of David going to Nabal to ask for help and provisions for his men, and Nabal denying him help and assistance, and David leaving pretty disgruntled, ready to go and take vengeance on Nabal and kill him, and Abigail is brought up to speed by their servants. She's told what's happening. She grabs supplies, provisions, food for them, and goes and meets David and says, "Please don't take vengeance on him. The Lord has kept you from unnecessary bloodshed this day." And David thanks her, he blesses her, and she goes on her way. And then a little while later, she tells Nabal what she's done. And Nabal is struck by the Lord and dies 10 days later. So then David takes Abigail as his wife, and we read that he also takes another woman as his wife, and then we read that Saul has given away Michal, his daughter, who was married to David, to another man. And then in 26, Saul is told where David is. We read that he discovers David's location, so he takes his men and he goes. He sets up camp nearby. David hears that he's there, and he goes in the night with Abishai to go into the camp and kill Saul. So once they get into the camp, they go into Saul's tent. They find Saul there asleep, totally unprotected, and Abishai is ready to kill Saul, and David stops him and he says, "Who can lay a hand on the Lord's anointed?" And so instead, he takes Saul's spear and he takes the water jug that is next to Saul's head. So for him to have those two things, it's a pretty strong statement that he could have definitely killed Saul. He was close enough. He had every opportunity. So David takes those things. He goes a little ways away from the camp and he calls out to Saul. And he, before all of Saul's men and everyone with him, he declares that he could have killed him and did not. And so Saul has no other choice but to bless him and go home. He has no choice. It's not necessarily that Saul believes what he's saying. We're not told that he's being deceitful, but there's a sense that David has made a public declaration of his innocence before all of the men that Saul has told, "David's trying to kill me," and it's very clear here that David is not trying to kill him. So if you're one of those men, why would you continue to support Saul in this endeavor? So Saul has no choice. He blesses David. He invites him to come back. In chapter 27, we read that David doesn't buy it. He doesn't trust it. He believes Saul is still going to try to kill him. So the only place he can think to go that Saul won't pursue him is the land of the Philistines. So we read that he goes down to Achish in the land of Gath and he settles there. He's been there for 1 year and 4 months. And while he's there, he's been raiding the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites. And he tells Achish that he is raiding the Negev and Judah. That's going to come up in our next reading tomorrow, that Achish is going to ask him to go do something, and it's not going to make sense unless you remember that this whole time David's been telling him that he's raiding the land of Judah. And Achish believes him because he thinks he's just become that offensive to his own people, that he has nowhere else to go, and that's why he's there with them. As I was reading through this text, the account of David's life really stood out to me. In chapter 24, we read that David spares Saul's life. And then we have in chapter 25 this account of David and Nabal and David sparing Nabal's life. And then we have again in 26 this account that David spares Saul's life yet again. We have this sense of David that when he is in those moments where it's very clear that he is being pursued by Saul, but God has a plan, he is very strong on holding to this idea, like, who can lay a hand on the Lord's anointed? He trusts that God is working on his behalf. He knows it. He understands that these attacks of Saul are from the enemy, that God has another plan here that he's working out, and he's able to really rely in those difficult moments. We really see his integrity come through. We really see him stand on what he knows to be true. But then we have this account of Nabal, and this is a different situation. David's been taking care of this man's men, his land, he's been protecting them, and then when he seeks aid from this man, that man denies him completely, and he's offended, and he seeks revenge right away. And it's just a reminder to me that there are so many times in my own life where I know God's at work, and it's very easy for me to not lash out or not react in judgment or be harsh with other people. And I know that God is working. I know He's doing things. But then there are other times in my everyday life where I go to the grocery store, or perhaps maybe for you, it's when you're at work and you're working with other people, or it's with our families. We get sort of fleshy and we forget who we are and who God is and what He says about the people around us. And it's really easy in those moments when other people offend us to want to get revenge or to lash back out at them. David struggled with the same thing. Abigail intervening helped David to get back on track. David didn't need to take vengeance on Nabal. The Lord took vengeance on Nabal. David needed to remain righteous and continue following the Lord. And it's just a good reminder for me that in those moments of hard interactions with others, I need to remain righteous. We all need to remain righteous, trusting that God is at work, that justice and judgment belong to the Lord and the Lord alone, and He sees their hearts in ways that we can never see. He knows what they need. He knows if they need mercy and compassion. He knows if they need correction, and He will bring it. We just have to keep following and trusting and showing compassion and love in our world, even when we receive rejection. So that's what the Lord was speaking to my heart today in this reading. I hope it was encouraging to you. Be sure to drop a comment in the Bible reading app and let us know what God's speaking to you. And have a great day, guys.